Hello, I'm Sabin. I work at CSER on existential risk, specifically on societal collapse and mathematical modeling of that. I originally did theoretical physics at Edinburgh, and yeah, for my PhD, I decided to study societal collapse and try to mathematically model um, what happens. And yeah, the change came about from sustainability concerns. Usually as a physicist you can have your head in the clouds, and sometimes the earth is not very stable, so best to look down. Afterwards, after I did my PhD, I did a postdoc in machine learning, which was fun, and now I'm at CSER and I'm applying all my knowledge to uh, understand our predicaments. My emphasis, as I said, is on societal collapse, and I developed mathematical models for Easter Island, the Maya, and the Roman Empire up to now. So the first two I did at my PhD, and the Roman Empire was my first research output with CSER. But essentially I tried to look at population dynamics, resource usage, and infrastructure in the models that I make. And they try to capture certain feedbacks that exists in any society and that underlie its long-term development. Most recently, I worked on the model of the Chinese dynasties. So I'm essentially going through most famous cases of societal collapse throughout history. And the Chinese dynasty showed these waves of instability and stability. So I'm trying to, I've modeled that and wrote a paper on it. Now I'm looking at the issue of the stability of the biosphere. And writing a paper, it's still in development, and trying to determine if there's some critical threshold which we shouldn't surpass. Just like for temperature, 1.5 is Celsius is an upper limit we shouldn't go over. I'm trying to determine to what extent we should limit our land use, if we should exceed 50% of available land or not. So what got me interested in the topic was a matter of curiosity. I was generally interested to see if we can predict anything about society, especially in the long term. And that might sound counterintuitive. Why should the long term be more predictable? Well, comes from a physics perspective. It's sometimes easier to see the forest than the trees, and can be surprising, but certain trends over the long term might be more stable than trying to understand what happens in a shorter time span, like a political cycle. A lot of things happen on short time scales, whereas in the long term, not necessarily that many things survive. The two biggest risks facing society and the modern world, I think, are climate change and the potential for nuclear war. And yeah, funny thing is, we are responsible for each of those. One book I particularly enjoyed, or at least found informative, not sure to what extent you can really enjoy these topics. So the book is called Man-Made Catastrophes and Risk Information Concealment. And the book is actually a big compiled list of a lot of disasters with sometimes surprisingly large human factor at play. And it underlies how fear and hubris can often be attributed, and these worst case scenarios. Yeah, not exactly light reading.